You've described a tension between wanting to win big, but also being deeply aware of risk. How does that tension show up when you go to make decisions? How do you make decisions? Because you know that you want to win this thing, but there's also a lot of risk. How do you make those decisions then, Carl?
Yeah, I think it's very, very tough. It's tough to navigate that. On the one side, I am a risk taker. On the other side, due to circumstances and the way that I've grown up and all of that, I've also seen the hard side of life. I kind of averse to going to ever putting myself in a situation where I might go back to that side.
Mm,
And it is rightfully, as you've mentioned there, it is a tension. That tension may also be a catalyst to some of the drive that I have, and I have to
yeah.
carefully manage that. Looking back in hindsight, it's not the current circumstances, unfortunately, but in hindsight, I should have outsourced that risk to someone else. Like I said, raised capital, not put all of my chips into the middle of the table and have it all leveraged according to myself, because I've burnt the boats, like properly burnt the boats. There's no turning back. I'm all in personally, and I wish I didn't do it that way because of this tension. Because then this tension would have been relieved a little bit. So I think there's probably a right way to build the kind of business that I've built and to structure it. I have not done it that way. It's not a train smash. Everything can still work. I can still make it work, and I am going to. It is just it's like playing Russian roulette, right? Which is not recommended.
It's not recommended. It's interesting. Let's talk about this because again, funding a business is huge, right? And what you've done is you've self-funded, right? You poured your own resources in. I know you have, and so you've just poured and poured and poured and poured and poured in. And you are saying, if I understand it rightly, if you had to go again, you wouldn't do that. You would put some in, but you would go to finding capital elsewhere. How quickly would you recommend someone to do that? So if someone's starting off, let's say they got the first 6 months worth of salary sorted. Let's talk about that. What advice would you give to someone who needs to fund their business?
I think 6 months is probably, it's like a good starting point. This is a bit of a balance. You cannot go and raise capital if you don't have anything, because then you're going to get your shareholding or equity would be diluted to decimals, which is not what you want. You need to show some track record. You need to show some execution. And for that, you need to pull some strings. But, be close to your capital allocators, your investors, and so on from day one. And go to them when you have something to show, when you have a pilot, when you have a proof of concept, when you have something to show, you have then and you've put in some skin into the game. Then it's a good point at that point to offset some of that risk, offload some of that risk to someone else, to someone who can actually afford it. We're living in the day of age where there's no shortage in it. There's a massive amount of capital out there. And people that's really driven, people that have some skin on the game, people that have shown that they have a track record. It's not difficult for those people to get capital. I'm not a guy to tell you that because I didn't do it. But that's in hindsight, the right way. And if I ever do it again, that's how I do it.
Yeah, but you do attract capital. You do attract. I mean, I know you have, and you have been very successful in getting people interested and wanting to put their money in the business, right? And I think that goes beyond just how brilliant the idea is. I think that goes a lot to what you do and how you sell yourself, and I think that's true as well, right? People put too much weight in the product, but people buy people. They don't buy product. They buy you, and you come over as someone that is very believable, someone very investable.